Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is that time of the week again. It's match preview showtime, and it comes on the back of midweek games for both Gillingham and Doncaster this past Tuesday. Both teams failed to score, and both teams lost. Pleased to announce though that I am joined by a familiar YouTube face, especially around Doncaster Rovers fans, and that is Dan, better known as 18Dapper on Twitter and on YouTube. I will put his details in the description at the bottom of the video. Do go and give him a follow. Go and subscribe to his channel. He does some brilliant stuff. It's not all just football as well, like mine. It's a little bit more varied. But Dan, appreciate you coming on, and I hope Tuesday night aside, you're quite well.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on. It's a pleasure, mate, as always.
No problem at all. I've been trying to do it for a couple of seasons, I think, and it's usually shift work or something gets in the way. So we finally managed to find a bit of time where we can both have a chat.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's get straight into it. Let's have a look at the last six for Rovers and the Gills. Doncaster in that last half a dozen games, it's a solitary win. And then after that, it was loss, draw, loss, draw, loss. There has been a managerial change in amongst that run of games, which we'll get to later on in the video. Gills, slightly better than Doncaster's 5 points, have picked up 7 from the last 18 available. Solitary win, 4 draws, and then the defeat Tuesday night at the league leaders, Leyton Orient. If we break it down a little bit further, though, Dapper, Doncaster at home, slightly better than the overall form at the moment. There's been 2 wins, a draw, 3 defeats on your own patch at 7 points from 18. It was probably something you'd want to improve on. And Gills, Tuesday night was their first defeat in 4 actually on the road, but they've not won an away game all season. So it's 3 points from 18, 3 defeats and 3 draws in the last 6. So something that definitely needs to be improved on. The first thing I've written down, mate, is doesn't have the makings of a classic.
It doesn't, does it? From those stats and that running that you've just said, it's probably going to be a 0-0, isn't it?
So go and get your money on 4-4 or something ridiculous now, people, because I can't see it being anything in between. It's either going to be a ridiculous goal fest, which would go against everything that Gills stand for this season, unfortunately. Or as Dapper said, it'll be an absolute snooze fest. But we shall see. Obviously, we've got plenty to get through before then. Danny Schofield has obviously come in. There's been a draw and a defeat since he took over. Gills, like I say, lost in the week to Orient, who are back at the summit of League Two. Your defeat was to Stevenage, I believe, who we took a point off a couple of Saturdays ago. What was the performance like Tuesday night? Did you deserve anything, or were Stevenage up to their antics and fairly comfortable? Or
honestly, mate, I think we deserved something from the game. I think chances wise, we had the better of the chances. Stevenage had the one chance and put it away, and it was disappointing defensively. To be fair, the cross wasn't stopped. We had a couple of players in and around the 6-yard box, and nobody followed the runner, and he just managed to leap highest and head it home. And I think probably Mitchell in goal could have done a little bit better to prevent it. Probably come out and collected it, or just commanded his area a little bit more. But then as soon as it went 1-0 up, they did. I mean, you'll know from Steve Evans being at Gillingham, he can win games. He can play football. Well, he can play anti-football sometimes and just stop other teams from playing. But I think under Danny Schofield, it's going to take time. It's not gonna happen overnight. But he's had 3 training sessions, and I think for me personally, I've already seen improvements in a style of play. There's a bit more of an attacking intent. We seem to be pushing the ball around with a bit more, I don't know, just a bit more vigor. And it's been missing that kind of that life in the game this season. And last season it was poor for both of us last season, really. But yeah, the last 2 performances, he's not had a great deal of time with the lads. I think we're already starting to see kind of little snippets of what we can look forward to as the season goes on. I'm not sure if this game on Saturday against Gills is probably a little bit too soon to see the full extent of what a Danny Schofield team will look like, though.
Sure, yeah, of course, yeah, you've got to give it time, like you say. It's just interesting listening to you said the performance on Tuesday basically mirrored ours. We were really good first half against Leyton Orient. We didn't allow them to settle. We played a front three that was quite narrow, but full of pace, and we pressed high and we stopped them playing, and we made them uncomfortable, and we created a couple of half chances without ever really threatening the goalkeeper, Lawrence Figueroa, and then we just didn't turn up second half, unfortunately, and like you said about the goal that you conceded, we switched off for the first one. simple ball in between centre back and right back, and suddenly they're in behind, and then we don't go and stop the shot, and then second goal we get done for pace down the left back area. So 2 goals, relatively straightforward, and against sides like Stevenage and Leighton Orient, who are up there for a reason, you can't be giving them half chances and giving them a head start and a leg up. And they were very comfortable in the end, and it was a real shame because first half we were properly in the game and probably looked the more likely, but lack of goals has been a theme throughout every single video I do, I think, this season, and it continues to hinder us. But yeah, looking at sort of games in recent weeks before and after Schofield, there seems to be a lot of teams that we played similarly. Obviously, you lost to Stevenage. We drew at home, 1-1 a couple of Saturdays ago, so not a great deal of difference in the scoreline. The draw under Schofield was with Crewe, I think, wasn't it? 1 each, the same as us, so that's exactly the same scoreline. You lost 3-0 to Carlisle. I think we went out there and got beat 1-0. So again, struggling to score.
That was Mick Sheffrey's last game as well.
That was the final nail in the coffin, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd been coming for a bit, to be honest, mate. I think the board have come out and said that they wanted to give him a bit of time, but it'd have been given a bit more time if they'd have started to see performances improve. But we just didn't see it as the season was going. There was no progress, and I think that was the biggest thing. I think that have accepted it. Poor results. Obviously, we don't want to lose too many games because they've set the target as going straight back up. I don't think we will, personally. But we started to lose too many games, and we just didn't look like we were in games. I mean, the Tuesday before that against Barnsley, we were 4-0 down at half time in the Papa John's Trophy against their kids, and then 3-0 at Carlisle, they've had a good start to the season. Don't get me wrong, but for a team whose aspirations are playoffs or bouncing straight back, you need points away from home, and you need to win games at home, and it wasn't happening for McSheffrey. So I can kind of understand why they decided to call it now and bring somebody new in.
You've pretty much answered my next question, because obviously from an outsider's perspective looking in, you're currently sitting 4 points off the players, right slap bang in the middle of the table in 12th. So if you look at that and you go, there's 2/3 of the season essentially to play, what's the drama in terms of McSheffrey's not been there for too long? You've spoken about giving him time, but I think you've probably answered it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So I assume as soon as you was relegated, the aspirations were, and the aim was to almost essentially come straight back up.
Yeah, that's been the noise from the club.
Return
an instant return to League One. But I think I try and put last season to one side, because I think he inherited a bit of a mess from what Wellens created. Now, I'm not putting all the blame on Wellens. I think the board have got to take some accountability for that as well. We needed pretty much a full new squad, so I don't know if the budget was competitive enough. Wellens had come out and said that it wasn't, but I look at that and think, if I failed at a job that I was doing, would I be too proud to accept that it was me who was the problem, or would I try and shuffle the blame elsewhere to kind of deflect a little bit? And I think sometimes managers do that, but I think there's probably a bit of truth in it. Maybe he misjudged the amount of rebuild that was required, spent too much on Tommy Rowe and Ben Close, and then struggled to kind of fill his squad up from there. But then on Richie Wellens, he exiled 2 players in Omar Bogle and Williams, I think it was. Yeah, Ed Williams. And I think that was the beginning of the end for him. I think his attitude kind of talked him out of the job at Doncaster. McSheffrey came in and openly said that he didn't want the job. He was quite comfortable at the under-18s level, but then he was kind of shoehorned into it. So I feel like he was just given an opportunity that he felt like he needed to take, although he didn't fully want it. But then there were points last season where, like, you guys, when you came to the Keepmoat, it was a 1-0 win, and I think you pretty much threw the ball in the first couple of minutes, and we just couldn't.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Lay a glove on you after that. Yeah. Morecambe away, 3-0 up, and got beat 4-3. Just results like that. I tried to not put McSheffrey or the blame on McSheffrey on that, but then this season he's had the January transfer last year, and then he's had the summer transfer. It's his squad. And for me, it wasn't getting the right tune out of them. So I think the board have given him enough time to get something. They've not seen enough. And now Danny Schofield's got 2 months to assess his squad and see who he wants to keep and what gaps he needs to fill, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense. So there's more similarities. You talk about Wellens and not having the budget and maybe looking at the board to be at least partly to blame. Steve Evans was sacked. He made noises in the press like Wellens did about not having the right budget with Paul Scally. Lo and behold, they're both sat first and second in League Two at the moment. So you can almost ascertain that, yeah, there probably is an issue with what they were allowed to spend because they've both gone elsewhere and been backed and both proving to be very good managers, albeit at a lower level than they have been performing at over the last few seasons. But yeah, so it's a lot of similarities. But like you said, I think everyone has to take the blame, don't they? When you get relegated, that's the owners, the board, if you've got a whole board, the manager, and certainly the players, because no amount of coaching and managing styles and that can legislate for what them players go and do for 90 minutes once they cross the white line. And
I think to a certain extent as well, mate, the fans need to take a very small portion of the blame. I mean, we pay us money. We're entitled to our opinion. This is football. Everybody's got their own opinion. But I think in a relegation season, I think you need that 12th man more than ever. So there were times last season where it was very toxic as a Rovers fan. I mean, you'll have seen some of the stuff that I got thrown my way on social media, and it's part and parcel of probably being in the position that we're in. But I just don't think that toxic environment helped last season on the pitch as well, to be fair. So yeah, I think from literally top of the club down to us as fans need to look at ourselves, and I think it's better this season. It seems a happier place anyway. Yeah,
can't have got much worse for either of us, can it? Unfortunately.
No.
Right. More immediately, Saturday. Like we said, we've already mentioned we both lost in midweek. We've looked at the form. Both are patchy at best. We've not done a press conference because we're recording this obviously on a Wednesday evening, so neither club's come out and said anything in terms of who might be missing at the weekend if they picked up injuries on Tuesday or anything like that. So it's a little bit of guesswork, but you're the manager for the next couple of minutes. What will the Doncaster side be at 3:00 Saturday afternoon?
I think it'll be unchanged from Tuesday. I don't think anybody received any knocks or any injuries unless they picked something up in training. But Danny set up the same way in the first two games, and that's 5 at the back, 2 in the centre of the midfield, 2 a little bit further forward on the wings, and then George Miller up top on his own. So personnel-wise, I think it'll be Mitchell in goal. I think Kyle Noyle will be on the right, Maxwell on the left, and then a back 3 of Roshan Williams, Tom Anderson, and Adam Long. I question Adam Long. He may get swapped out for Bobby Faulkner. It depends if Danny's wanting to assess his squad a little bit more. So I think one of the 3 centre backs may get swapped out for Bobby Faulkner. In the midfield, I'm guessing it'll be Ben Close and Harrison Biggins, and then a little bit further forward, I'll go with Kyle Hurst on the left, Luke Molyneux on the right, and then George Miller up front on his own.
And in terms of key men, we can't go through the show without mentioning George Miller. 7 in 14 in the league is a really good return.
Yeah.
For a side that is essentially mid-table at the moment. I also wrote down Carl Noyle. He was a player I looked at before he came to Doncaster. I thought he was very good for Cambridge the season before. But obviously one more that you just mentioned there, so I'd like you to talk about him. Obviously Luke Molyneux came with a lot of fanfare, but then picked up an injury, I believe, didn't he, very early on in pre-season or the season, and it has not featured a lot.
Yeah, he picked up a knock early on and didn't feature in the first 3 or 4 games, I think it was. And like I say, he came with quite a bit of expectation. I mean, he got 12 goals last season in a poor Hartlepool team. But for me, he's one of those players. He's a frustrating player. I think if he gets that goal, the first goal for the club, I think that may open the floodgates and you'll see that confidence just ooze out of him. But at the minute, I mean, Tuesday night, there were a couple of opportunities down the right-hand side. You mentioned Kyle Noyle. I think this season is showing why he was in the team of the season in League Two for Cambridge. Is fantastic this season. But going down the right-hand side, is the interplay with Luke Molyneux was decent on Tuesday. A couple of one-touch, 1-2 passes, and we split Stephen in 2, really. But then when Luke's on the ball and kind of isolated one-on-one, I think he just tries to do a little bit too much. And he loses it 9 times out of 10. And for me, sat watching, it's frustrating because there's passes on. But then on Tuesday night, he delivered an absolute sublime ball into the back post, and Biggins has headed it narrowly wide. So he's got that quality. I think he just needs that goal just so that it can play a bit freer, if that makes sense. I think he's trying a little bit too hard at the minute.
Sounds a bit like Haki Badelakoon with us again. Just sounds like I'm copy and pasting, but another similarity. We've obviously got him on loan from Lincoln City, and he started the first couple of games there. I think they had injuries, but like Molyneux, I think you can tell he's technically very good, and there's a very good player in there for the level. And he's just had no luck at all in the last couple of weeks. He has been frustrating. We probably said his best 90 minutes was when he had to go and play at right wing back for 85 minutes after Haji Manoga got sent off on debut against Swindon. He was brilliant defensively, but we've just not seen enough output from him going the other way. And he could have had an assist against Stevenage, but Scott Cashkett decided to put his own contender in for miss of the season, which I'm sure you saw floating around on social media.
I did.
Last Saturday, 25-yard pile driver that's been tipped onto the crossbar. So again, you just need that assist or that goal, and then he's going to go, yes, I am a good player, and I am, having an impact on this side, and then it might start improving for both of them. So it'd be interesting to see how they get on Saturday, because they might be on the same side of the pitch as well. If Delacoon starts on the left and Molyneux starts on the right for you, they could end up almost coming into direct combat. So that could be one interesting battle to keep an eye on. In terms of the Gills, I noticed you had been playing a back three against since Danny Schofield took over. So I was thinking Gills might match up. We have fluctuated between different systems throughout the season for various reasons, but I think the issue Neil Harris has got now is he doesn't want Will Wright to play as a right back, but he can't take him out because his delivery is very good from set plays. Max Emer, I don't think, will come out the side because of his experience. And Elkan Baggott suddenly become a goal threat, and he's 6'5", so there's that aerial presence in both boxes. So what he's been doing the last couple of weeks is playing Wright as the right-sided fullback and then moving Shea Alexander to left fullback. But it then makes us look unbalanced because everything has to come inside into traffic. So I'm thinking he might go to a back three and match up at the weekend. So it might be something along the lines of Glenn Morris in goal, and then Wright, Emar and Baggott as your centre-backs. Shea Alexander, right wing-back. Bring Ryan Law back into play from the left. Robbie McKenzie and Stuart O'Keefe I'd go with as a pair in the middle of the park if we play this system. And then I'd persist with the front three that played against Leyton Orient, because for 45 minutes they were very good fleetingly with the ball, but essentially they were really good out of possession in pressing high and pinching the ball in good areas. So yeah, I'd go with Jordan Green, Hakiba Delacoon and Lewis Walker. So that would be mine. It would be like a 3-4-2-1. But we'd need to see Hacks and Jordan obviously get on the ball a bit more than they did, certainly second half during the week. Before I let you go, it's that dreaded question. 5 o'clock, who's going to be happier? What's your score prediction?
I think you'll be the happier, but I think it'll be a draw. I'm going to go with a 1-1. I think we're just lacking that. Look at that. Great minds think alike, eh?
Well, it's just our thing this season, isn't it? I think we've drawn about 6 or 7 games, one each, and even more in the cup and stuff like that. So
I just think we're lacking up front. I mean, we had hatful of chances on Tuesday night, and we just weren't ruthless enough. So unless we've been working on that over the last couple of days, then I don't know. I can't see us scoring more than 1, to be honest.
Yeah,
we always concede.
Everyone knows about our issues in front of goal. Unfortunately, I think it's 6 in 15 in the league, which is absolutely atrocious. It's 18 goals over a full season, so that's got to change and fast.
I thought Mandron had done more for you guys this season. Is it what's happening there?
He struggled, and I've said this to a few people. I think it's weird that he's struggling at a lower level. I think he's more suited to League One because you've got them teams in there that like to, no disrespect to League Two, which is a bit more rough and ready. They like to play a bit more in League One. You had your Sunderlands in there when we were in there. You've still got your Portsmouth, your Ipswiches, your Charltons, them types of teams. You had Rotherham the season before. I think in League Two, I just think he struggled with the physicality. Defenders have just, run through the back of him. I think he got a little bit more time when he was at Crewe to bring the ball, because he's not the trouble is I think he's come in and we're comparing him to Verdane Oliver. And Verdane Oliver was probably like an old school target man where he'd win the ball in the air. He was very good at, I think if you listen to D3, D4 and all that, aerial duels won over the last 2 seasons. Verdane Oliver was miles in front of everyone. I think he was second last season, even though he missed 4 months injured. Whereas Mika, I think, probably likes it into feet a bit more. So he's just struggling with that side of the game, and he's becoming a target for the Boo Boys, unfortunately, which is a shame. But I can understand why, because strikers are ultimately judged on goals, and our top scorer in the league is now centre back. So
Yeah.
there is an issue there. Defensively, we're absolutely fine. I think we've conceded 16 in 15 games, which is probably sort of top 8 in the league. It's certainly top half form defensively, but when you're only scoring under half a goal a game, it's causing you an issue because you essentially can't concede to pick up points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think 1-1 gives you and Danny Schofield another building block, another part of the process. Obviously, only just arriving recently. They always say if you don't lose your away games and you win your home games, then you're doing all right. So a draw in isolation wouldn't be a disaster for us either. But we've really got to start winning football matches and quickly, because if we've got any sort of hope of trying to break into the top half, or dare I say it, a bit higher, I'll probably get shot down by Gills fans for being deluded. Then it needs to change, and I can understand that again, because if we do keep the scoring rate going as it is, but start conceding more, we're going to be banging trouble. But I'm trying to remain on the other side, and if we remain defensively solid and we start scoring, then we'll start climbing the table fairly swiftly. But proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, I think you guys are literally on the knife edge at the minute, aren't you? Of going one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly how I see it.
Yeah, I think we were similar under McSheffrey in terms of we were quite lucky at the start of the season with the results that we were getting, and we kind of fell on the wrong side of the knife edge where the performances didn't improve, but the results also deteriorated. Hopefully, new manager. It'd be nice to get the win on Saturday, obviously, to give him that first win. But
of course.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with 1-1, I think.
Yeah, I will take that. Dapper, it's been a pleasure as always, mate. Really enjoyed it. Like I've said, everybody, go and give him a follow. Go and subscribe to his YouTube channel. The details will be in the description at the end of the video. We are very close to the weekend. It's nearly another match day. If you are travelling north to the Keep Moat at the weekend, sing loud, sing proud, and help the boys bring at least a point home, please. I will be unable to attend because I have other plans. We will back me and Reese, hopefully, with a Monday review, looking back on what, fingers crossed, is a positive performance and a positive result. But until then, enjoy the rest of your week. And up the Gills.